But I'm staunch on that stance. Like, nah, men are good. And I agree there's men making mistakes, and there's a lot of men making mistakes and doing inappropriate things and unskillful decisions.
Mm,
And I stand by that men are good.
yeah. Hello, and welcome back to A Woman Refined podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Renee, as always. And this month on the podcast, we have a very old friend of mine, Ryan Barraclough. Ryan and I go way, way back, back in the day, as they say. And this is going to be an uncomfortable listen, I think, for quite a few people. Ryan and I get into quite a few disagreements um, in a very respectful way, of course. We don't always have to agree on things, and that's the beauty of our relationship. That we are able to present our thoughts and our views with respect to each other and continue to remain friends afterwards. I think it's really important to have people in your life that push you and that um, want you to grow and that don't always agree with you, to not have an echo chamber. So you're going to see this play out right in front of you now for the next hour and a bit. So look, it may be uncomfortable, but hopefully it's inspiring that, you know, you can still be friends with someone and completely disagree with them. Ryan and I did continue having that chat after the call finished. And we came to kind of an understanding, whereas Ryan believes that, and from my understanding, Ryan believes that all of those energies that life is created with are masculine and feminine. I just believe that that is the end result of those energies. So those energies are not that at the beginning; they're only that at the end when they come through either a man or a woman. So I guess we're in a definition standoff. So I mean, it's up to you what you believe. I don't think it's helpful to label something as complex as those energies as something as binary as masculine and feminine, I guess, um, because it's so much more. So, but in the end, we came to say, you know, we came to an understanding, and Ryan was like, I basically think that we think the same thing. We just have a different way of coming about it. So it's nice that we could get a resolution. I wish we could have done that on the call for you guys, but we went into it deeper off the call. But just to let you know that we're still friends and we're still good. Um, yes. So, anyways, if you could do all the things, if you're enjoying the uncomfortableness of this conversation and you want to share that uncomfortableness with some friends, please do so. Please do all the social media things, you know, like, follow, share. If you could leave a review or leave like a star count, that also really helps the algorithm. And it also really helps me to understand what you like and what you don't like. Send me a DM, a_woman_refined, excuse me, on Instagram, or you can send me an email, a womanrefinedpodcast at gmail, and I will read it. I will. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you next month.
Like,
No, you can't make that joke.
all right, cool.
All right, well, Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Loza, how are we?
I am well. Thanks for asking. I'm excited because, look, people on Instagram don't know this. We're good friends, and we have been friends outside of Instagram before either of us were even on Instagram, before Instagram even existed.
Hmm.
Uh, you and I were homies for a
Two
long, long
young,
time.
innocent hippies saving the world one organic market at a time.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Highly opinionated and highly undereducated.
I don't think anything's changed.
Yeah. Strap in, folks.
Yes, and you know, we met a long time ago, and I approached you at our organic market that we worked at on the northern beaches of Sydney, um, as a wing woman for a friend of mine. And it turns
True.
out, yeah, I was like, come hang
We
out with us.
we ended up being friends.
That's it. You got me
And
in the divorce.
uh,
And here we are all these years later. But you and I haven't seen each other in a while because we live far apart now.
this is true.
But we have moved in similar circles, similar directions, similar we share. I feel like you're very brotherly to me. Like I feel like
Mhm.
we're family in ways that I can't really explain to other people. I feel like,
Totally. Yeah, there's a good kinship that just lasts the test of time, irrelevant of contact
yeah,
or location. It's beautiful.
yeah, yeah. And you went off Instagram for a while. And then when you popped back on Instagram, I was like, what is Ryan doing here? And turns out you've got like this whole new thing going on that you've been doing for a while now. And I've just watched from the sidelines and I've watched it blow up. And I was like, okay, so I got to get you on here to talk about this. Like, people don't know I used to have a podcast, an old podcast. You've been on that before. I might release those episodes one day again for those who want to hear. So this isn't the first time that you and I have had a podcast chat, but I was like, we've got to get on here again, and I got to hear what the hell is going on with the Embodied Man Institute because it is blowing up.
EMI, yeah, it's a pretty cool project. It is
What
a
what is it? What like okay, so you and I haven't really seen each other out. What happened? How did this even come about? Because you
oh,
have got pretty much every man that's in the masculine polarity space.
mhm.
You've brought them all together under one banner. Like how did this even what's going on? Tell us the story.
Yeah. Well, it's cool, right? So there's a few pieces to it. I'll start with the founder of the Gathering of Men is a fellow named Jacob O'Neill. And he's an epic visionary. He's an absolute juggernaut when it comes to working with men. He's a men's coach. I would say Jacob is one of the best men's coaches rolling around. He's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm,
And his vision was the gathering of men, and it's to bring all the tribes of men's work together.
mm-hmm,
Anyone who's a man who's interested in being a man, who wants to celebrate masculinity and learn about masculinity and deepen into their leadership, the gathering of men was a place to break down the walls of competition and come into collaboration, pollination, and celebrate, share. What are we learning? Let's start to understand better everyone's lens on the same topic.
mm,
And the belief being we actually have a whole heap more in common than we might think. And when we can move out of that competition model, we can start to really elevate the culture in
mm,
Australia. Uh, as you mentioned, I went off the line for some time. I had my sabbatical, my bush time, my travel time, my deep work with various teachers, and yeah, time with myself, deepening into myself and my work. And when I came out of that, uh, I there's a whole hilarious backstory to me and Jacob used to bicker a lot online. I was just really jealous of him, basically, and
I remember.
yeah. Thank you. Good friends too. And and then he and I just was like, man, I'm being such a brat. Really. I just got honest. I was like, I'm actually just jealous. I'm threatened. I'm gonna shut up. He's doing good work. And I put my hand up. I was like, hey bro, can I come volunteer at your event? And he goes, I was gonna ask you to come and facilitate. And that was a hilarious roll into that event. And Jake and I got along really well the whole time. And then at the event, I facilitated, and I hadn't been in any spaces for probably 3 years at that point.
Mm,
And that really ignited my fire for men's work and for facilitating and for, I've been in men's work for 13 years now. And that really like lit the fire again. And I was like, man, this is awesome. And I remember watching Jake operate there. I was like, man, that guy is a beast. Like he's pulling this off out of sheer freaking will and heart. And I was like, I can get behind this, you know? And at that event, I just afterwards I said, hey man, do you want to have a debrief? He's like, yeah, what? And I was like, here's what I saw. And here's what I think. This is awesome. And this is how I think it could be phenomenal. And he goes, sweet, do you want to do it together? I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And we then created a council. So there's four of us, myself, Jacob O'Neill, Luke Salmon, and Scott Loeffler. And From there, we started a not-for-profit, and that's the Embodied Man Institute. And the flagship event of the Embodied Man Institute is the Gathering of Men. And so we were together last year. We ran it, and then ironically, Jake had his baby. Jake and Meg had their baby when the Gathering of Men was on, so Jake wasn't there. And it was this
Wow.
incredible testament to the vision and to the prayer that it could run without the founder. And so last year, again, we had an incredible event. I think we had around 200 men on the land, 4 days, 15 of the best facilitators in men's work from around Australia coming together. And then we're here again doing it in 4 weeks' time.
Wow.
Yeah. And this, in the year, it's a good marker for us. In the year from last TGOM to this year, um, EMI, we've put 100 and probably 200 men, 150 to 200 men through a sacred rage, 1 day initiation, helping men, we say, unleash the beast and activate the heart. We're running an online academy, which is education for men, understanding masculine leadership and the frameworks and what's needed to cultivate that and bring it into life.
Mm.
What we focus on is having like the outcomes, you could say. We're really interested in men knowing who they are, having a really unshakable sense of self, having thriving relationships, and being in a career where they feel of service.
Mm.
And the big prayer is to reinstate healthy masculine culture in Australia. That's our vision. That's what we do.
What does that look like? What's
Oh,
healthy masculine culture?
so we're not the kind of men's work that says this is how it is and this is what it is and this is what it is to be a man and this is how you
Mhm.
need to be a man. What we do is provide frameworks, education, initiation, and brotherhood that help men find out who they are and then operate in alignment with that. So we want to reawaken a man's true nature. And we trust that when a man is operating in connection with his true nature, he'll act for the greater good. And so I'm going to give a loose answer because I'm not going to say this is what healthy culture is, but
Mhm.
my version of healthy culture is one where there's a depth of conversation, understanding, and interaction between men. And the outcome of that is the children feel safe to play, the women feel free to be themselves and express themselves.
Mm.
And there's less violence in the world. There's less men killing themselves.
Mm.
And there are more healthy masculine leaders in our communities and in our structures that govern how society runs.
So what do you think is preventing that now?
Uh, Many things, but the thing I would talk about most is a lack of initiation.
Mm.
Initiation was the mechanism that cultures use to evolve and mature a man's emotional vocabulary and understanding and capacity.
Mm.
And so I think we have a very malnourished collective nervous system and a very immature emotional language or emotional capacity within
Mm.
the male collective. And I think initiation was the piece that evolved that for men.
Mm. So what does that look like now? Because, initiation
Mm,
previously, and I think I did a live on this a couple of years ago because I wholeheartedly agree. I think
mm,
initiation is a massive missing piece. Um, and previously there would have been different cultures had different forms of initiation, but in the
yeah.
general sense, like the men would take the young boys away from the tribe for a certain period of time, and they would usually teach them a bunch of life skills. So, like, this is how you hunt, this is how you do whatever. There would be a loose kind of Jacob Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey
Hmm.
kind of structure. Got to kind of throw them in the deep end. They got to figure it out for themselves. They find out what
Yeah.
they're made of. They come back and they've seen the worst and they kind of bring back the best of themselves
Hmm.
in a generalization for what they used to do. But that was like hundreds of years ago when we were tribal. We haven't been that for a while.
Mm,
The closest we got to that moving forward from that was war,
hmm.
when men went to war, which was like a shadow version of initiation.
Mm,
That's why so many men came back absolutely destroyed
mm.
and went on to destroy even more through the mental unwellness that came back with that. So what is a modern initiation? How do you even come to terms with like what that is? Where are you coming up with that? Like
Yeah,
what's the
initiation
idea?
initiation has to be in an appropriate relationship with the way in which we're living now.
Yeah.
So I'm really careful not to romanticize other and older cultures
Mm.
because those times the rites of passage were relevant for those times.
Yeah.
So why we do sacred rage? Well, there's a lot of men who are involved in DV and involved in self harm. So I'd
Mm.
say it's not a fair assumption. It's not a big assumption to make that there's likely a lot of anger in the male collective.
Mm.
And so sacred rage is a real doorway for men to meet the deeper parts of themselves, to face off with the fears of earlier experiences in their life,
Mm.
of suppressed emotions. And when we do it in a collective of men, we kind of increase the nervous system to handle what a man needs to process. I think
Mm.
that's one of the beauties of men. Like I wholeheartedly believe men are built to do hard shit.
Yeah,
Like we are
same.
hardwired for risk and we are hardwired for crazy shit, and it brings men online and brings
Yeah.
them back to life.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Mm. So that's one. We do initiation, but it can be done in multiple ways. We also do grief rituals. So
Mm.
helping men really grieve. Grief is a really lost part of the Western world. We don't grieve. People stay mad and sad, and they
Mm.
stay in resistance to what's beneath mad and sad, which is normally rage.
Mm.
And then when we go beneath that, it's grief.
Mm.
It's actual grief. And once we grieve, then we can accept. And acceptance is along the steps to returning back to self.
I think there's like a big gap in eldership that would have previously taught both men and women like the tools and the key abilities that are there in how to understand what is exactly happening for them internally and be
Mm,
like, oh, I recognize that. I've been through that. I know
totally.
what that is. And here's how you cope with it. Here's this tool. Here's what we do. Here's our practice, whatever. And when that dies off and when that goes away, you're just left with a generation after generation after generation of like immaturely developed people,
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
men, but and women as well.
Yeah, on both sides of on everyone, on humans, there's
Yeah.
there's a real opportunity for maturation,
Yeah.
and that's what we're interested in, and that's where I think initiation can really come in when it's done skillfully and when it's done appropriately.
Mm. I have a saying that's on my vision board and it says self mastery is maturation.
Yeah.
And it's like my favorite thing to kind of remind myself because it's on nobody else. It's on me
Hmm.
every day to lean into that. No one else is going to master me except for
Hmm.
me. So yeah, it's an interesting thing because if you look online, you see everyone, and I'm guilty of it just as much as other people of generalizing
Hmm.
and being like, feminism did this. Yeah, it did some things as well. Like it had some good points, it had some bad points. And no one's really escaped the culture that we've like it's affected everybody, whether you're
Yep.
men or women. But you see a lot of blame, like outward, women do this, men do this, when really I'm similar to you. I feel like I'm after the bio individual, like what is uniquely coming up for you
Totally.
and what do you need to work on, what's your highest version of yourself. And I'm always very curious because all of us will play out traumas, all of us will play out personas and masks and things that we've built up over our lifetimes in order to survive, which is wonderful. That's our survival mechanism. That's what we did in order to like live and exist and continue.
Mm-hmm.
um but I'm always curious as to like what's underneath that, and if that didn't exist for you, what would the true essence of you be like, which is quite the antithesis to this self-acceptance culture that we have, which is like just accept everyone as they are
Hmm.
rather than upset anybody by being like, hey, do you think that maybe that's not actually who you are and that might be something that you have put up to
Hmm.
face the world because there's something deeper going on.
Yeah. I think there's just a misunderstanding when people say accept people as they are. I think if you can truly see yourself and other in their natural state,
Mm,
that's where that statement rings true.
mm,
So that's a spiritual truth being applied in an inappropriate manner
yeah.
versus someone's poor behavior not being addressed by the community, which that is a healthy um, correction of inappropriate action.
Yeah.
And yeah, Yeah, I can. Yeah, we don't have any of that in EMI. We don't have any of that in our culture of this is because of feminine, this is because of that. The work is to bring us back into relationship. One of my teachers, an Ecuadorian chief Carmita, she says, you know, the Western world's forgotten how to be in community. We're so
Mm,
precious and we're so hyper protective of our personal I that we've forgotten how to be in community. So if this work doesn't bring us back into relationship with self, other, and nature, it's the wrong work.
mm,
And so there's no gain in blame.
yeah,
Don, my teacher was so adamant. If blame's in the building, ego's here too.
yeah. And it's interesting because then you look at when you do the corrections, that's often mislabeled as blame as well.
Hmm.
People will misinterpret that as blame. It's like when people talk about boundaries and then, but actually they're asking other people to change rather than asserting
Hmm.
what they're okay with and not okay with, and then self-correcting their own behavior
Hmm.
to participate in that or not. It's this languaging. I'm yeah, the languaging I quite find interesting because you can misinterpret so much just by incorrectly naming something, or like like I do sometimes, which is generalizing, it just, but just in those things, so many people can get triggered, so many people can misinterpret, so many people then project certain things upon what's going on because we're on online and we're like 30-second reels, don't have them
Hmm.
any more than 3 minutes or you're not going to get shared. And we want it to be clickbait. So you want it to actually elevate someone's cortisol. You want to like get their emotions up. You want to get them charged. You want to get them sharing with their friends. You want to get them commenting. You want to get them liking. So you got to say the stuff that's like really exciting. And there's no one-on-one conversations, which is why I love doing this, because we're sitting
Hmm.
down. I'm like, well, what does that actually mean?
Hmm.
What's your experience of life that's led you to believe that that word means this for you? Because that's not what that means for me.
Hmm.
There's none of that. There's a lot of assumptions that happen, and that then it's just like wounding playing out everywhere.
Hmm.
It's a really interesting and intense time because it's happened so quickly.
Hmm.
It wasn't like that 15, 20 years ago.
I don't remember.
You were just a baby.
Yeah, that's it.
I was not. I remember. It was more, I mean, this stuff was still being done, but it was not on the scale that it is now.
Hmm.
And you had more community, or at least, I did to a certain extent.
Hmm.
And the online outrage culture that
Hmm.
happens, and the triggering and the misinterpretations and the projections and all that was obviously at a minimum because it was only real life interactions. It still happened, but it wasn't like it didn't go viral.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about previously, before we jumped on the call, about what happened with Chris Griffins
Hmm.
and what he said, and then everybody's interpretation of it, and even my interpretation of it, which I don't know it to be true, but I just assumed the best.
Mm,
I find that stuff really interesting.
totally. We invited him to come to Sacred Rage.
Oh yeah, well, did he come?
No,
Oh, bummer.
not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, that's a good reframe. One day. Yeah, I feel for he's young. I feel for him.
I think he's doing. Yeah, I have no idea. I have no judgment or idea, or I don't even have really an evaluation. It's like, hey, bro, come try Sacred Rage. You got a lot going on.
Yeah, he got really slammed, and like
Yeah,
to be put in the middle of that so young, I feel for him.
yeah. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe, hopefully, he'll come to the gathering, man.
So why so many facilitators? Because like I saw a reel the other day and I was like, I think I know 13 men that are going.
Well,
There's a
15,
lot.
yeah, 15, experts in the field.
Mm,
And then we have guest facilitators, one of them being Dr. Robert Glover, the author of No More Mr. Nice Guy. He's going to be a keynote speaker. And then some other like really key facilitators like Murray Carl
mm,
and Waniga. and Leon Cossa, incredible storyteller.
Mm.
And then the 13 that you know, why so many? Well, a big part of what we do is safety. So we have 200 men participants coming.
Right.
One sec, got to sneeze. We've got 200 participants coming, and we want to make sure that all of those men feel like they have a decent and deep interaction within the environment. So those groups get broken up, those participants get broken up into little pods, and
Mm.
that pod is led by one of those lead facilitators and
Mm.
also a support facilitator who we've been training for the last 6 months.
Right.
So
That
that's
makes
one of
sense.
the reasons. Another reason is we're trying to promote the diversity of what it means to be a man.
Mm.
So part of our ethos is, hey, we don't know what it means to be a man for you. That's
Mm.
actually your journey. That's the gift of this life, is for you to figure that out and live it. And we've got really fantastic frameworks and principles and a really good understanding of the shared commonality of masculinity and leadership and embodiment. And we can provide you with those, and we'll give you feedback and sounding boards and accountability. And to really walk it, that's on you. But when a
Mm.
man walks his authentic masculine essence, man, there's a taste in the air. There's a trail in the sky. You can feel it. It feels good for the people around them. It lifts them up. It elevates those that are in their company. And when they engage in the world, they do it with a level of maturity and dignity that sends a good ripple. And so we bring in 15 of these facilitators, and they all run a workshop over the weekend. So the men get to experience all the different types of men's work, the different angles, the different interests. So there's so many ways to approach being a man. There's so many aspects of life. So we
Mm.
bring in people who teach to those different angles and those different dimensions, so we can broaden our horizons. We can build out our understandings. We can break down the echo chamber and the bias that
Mm.
takes place online mainly, and then
Mm.
in life. So the idea is just to keep breaking down the linear black and white, this is what it is, this is what it is. And it's like, let's find out. Let's be in the process together.
What does it mean for you personally?
Which bit?
What it means to be a man? Like, are there certain values that you live by?
I don't necessarily vibe with values, but I'm really interested in principles.
Mm-hmm.
Values for me seem like a box. Principles are like Pandora's box. It's like you pop it and you can explore it. So I would say some of the highest forms of masculine principles in my mind right now are containment,
Mm-hmm.
presence, generosity, um, strength, but not in the physical sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say will, like the will. Masculine leadership, I think, is a beautiful masculine principle. But every masculine principle, I'm really well aware, is preceded by a feminine principle. And I'll give you the example of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not listening, which for me is a feminine principle, and listening and leadership go hand in hand. If I'm not listening to life, I'm not leading, I'm following.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm listening to life, or when I'm listening to the group that I'm leading, then I can lead with integrity and I can lead in relationship to what I'm caring for. And so I believe the feminine precedes the masculine in most cases. And so leadership is led by listening.
Mm.
And that's how I lead well.
Mm.
And containment, like holding the frame or containment. I think containment is, can I be with this? Can I be with this? And holding the frame. And that's a beautiful masculine principle.
Mm.
And that is only ever, um, like the men who do that really well, they have been to the depths of chaos. They have been in the deepest tumble dryer of the universe.
Mm.
And they've found themselves there. And from there, they can hold a really wide frame because I've got a really big base.
Yeah.
So those are my favorites at the moment:
Mm.
containment, presence, leadership, and generosity.
And will.
Yeah, will.
Mm. Yeah, I often say, like, with the masculine leadership, I say, like, if the man is the head, then the woman is the neck. And
Mm,
women really don't like hearing that. They're like, we're the heart. I'm like, okay. But I think the neck, because the neck can turn the head if the
mm,
head will listen to what the neck's saying. Like, the neck's like, turn this way, and the head goes that way,
mm, mm-hmm,
And it works in symbiosis. Like, if your
mm,
neck's out, then your head's not going to turn.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I can understand why people don't like that.
Yeah.
because it puts one first and one second, and I just don't think that's the case. That's for me, that's the mistake, or the people. There's been a mistake in the understanding of duality, and duality, the two-ness, the masculine and feminine, get put in opposition to the oneness. So then there's a what came first, and in reality, there's the oneness of life. There's no opposite to life. Death isn't the opposite to life. Birth is the opposite to death, and death and
Hmm.
birth take place in life. And, the active state of life is nature. So, what's not included in nature? Well, everything is included in nature, including us.
Hmm.
But there's many forms of nature, and that's the duality. That's the world of many. And so there's the oneness, and then out of that, the two-ness arrives, and the two-ness is a constant dance between masculine and feminine energy. One doesn't precede the other, and there's no start and end. Energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transformed. So there's a dance of masculine and feminine, and then there's a morphing back into the cosmic soup.
But didn't you just say that your principle, like the feminine precedes the masculine?
Yeah, from the language standpoint, and I say that here to give context to leadership because I don't think it's spoken about enough. But on the deepest level, I don't think one's leading the other. I think they're in relationship. So they're circling, they're chasing each other's tail, so to speak. They're connected. But I would
Yes.
say good leadership is informed by listening.
Why can't listening be a masculine principle?
I think it's a receptive principle. And I think receptive is more akin to the feminine understanding.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. I did, but does that make you, when you're listening, does that make you in your feminine?
Sure.
And it doesn't, so then you're,
When am I not in my feminine?
well, I would argue that you're never in your feminine. I would say that you're always in your masculine because you're a man.
I think that's a misunderstanding of energy versus gender.
I don't, because I think that energy is not gendered. I think that there's inward energy and there's outward energy, and that's what Taoism talks about, the yin and the yang.
I think we're saying the same thing. I don't think energy is gendered.
Yeah, but we people gender it. Like,
Yeah.
saying that if you were to, like, I would say listening is a human quality.
Hmm.
Men and women do it differently.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't say, I would say that also maybe women might do it more or men might do this more. And so therefore it gets assigned to that one, but it doesn't necessarily mean that if you are on the opposite thing that it's been assigned to, that if you are practicing that, that you become that. I think that
Hmm.
you still are what you are. And you're just doing the thing that is also assigned to this other gender, if that makes
Uh,
sense.
I'll try and I'll repeat back what I think I'm hearing you say
Mm-hmm.
is that actually I'll just say what I mean to say is that when you say I'm always in my masculine, yeah, I agree, and I'm always in my feminine. And aside from that, I'm biologically a man.
Do you think that there are a masculine and a feminine energy within you?
Of
That,
course.
okay, I disagree.
Okay, well, you're disagreeing with nature.
I don't think so. I think that this is nature. I think that when we come together, that's where the masculine and feminine energy comes from. I think that there's inward energy and outward energy within both of us. But I
Why is
don't
that?
think that that would be called masculine and feminine.
Okay. What's the difference between inward and outward energy and masculine and feminine energy?
Yeah, that's the question. So I think that masculine energy
But
is for men,
mhm.
biological men, and it is the way that the filter in which they live out the inward and outward energy that is within them, if that makes sense.
I'm yet to find, for me, I believe that there's a mix of masculine and feminine energy in every aspect of nature because it's the fundamental building blocks of nature. And I consider myself, and I think that can move in a multitude of ways, inward, outward, and I think multi-directional, multifactorial, all dimensions. And I think that as I am nature, then I am happy to assume that there's masculine and feminine energy keeping this form in animation.
Why is it of nature? I'm not trying to be contrary. I'm trying to understand.
Why is what of nature masculine? I think they're the two foundational building blocks that we understand energy to be.
Would you say like a plant has masculine and feminine
Hmm.
energy within it?
Yeah,
And how would you define that though?
I'll define that in the way that it develops. I'll define that in the stem and the flower.
But there are some plants that are pollinators, and there are some plants that need to be pollinated, and they both have stems and flowers.
Okay. Um, and and how does that change what I said?
Well, I don't know if
So are
that's
the ones that are pollinators in your mind, are they men? Are they masculine? And the ones that need to be pollinated, are they feminine plants?
that's how we understand it as humans, because that's this. It's reflecting how we procreate.
There's a consensus on that?
Yeah, in the like, it's the same as when you have a electrical plug, and you've got the female and the
Yeah.
male that goes
Mhm.
in. One goes in the other.
But at the foundational blocks of energy, there's protons and electrons, which is a
Hmm.
positive and a negative.
Hmm.
So on a fractal level, within each of that, the energy animating everything, even the pollinator and the pollinating, they're
Mm.
made of masculine and feminine protons and electrons.
Right, but why would that be masculine and feminine? They're just positive and negative. It's like
But
inward,
that's
outward.
positive. Exactly. And that's what you just described, a pollinator and a pollinating, a positive and an inward and an outward. And so on in the fractal nature of reality, the foundational building block is an inward and an outward exchange that's constantly
Hmm.
chasing each other. And that fractals out in nature. But what animates all of that is those first two building blocks.
The magnetism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's driven by masculine and feminine energy. And then we draw it out constantly, boom, 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 into this forms of many. But the foundational energies, those two energies that come from one and then
Mm.
create many, in my mind, are masculine and feminine.
Mm. I I I see what you're saying, and I agree. I think that I
I think,
wouldn't call them masculine and feminine. I think masculine and feminine is the end result of those energies.
I think, okay, sure. Do you want my honest opinion?
Yeah, sure.
I think you have a bias that you're upholding and supporting, which I'm not sure what it is yet, but I think there's a belief system that's being peddled by this. And so it feels,
Possibly. Well, wouldn't we both have that?
no, I think I'm less invested in the polarity dynamics and arguments. It doesn't interest me that much.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really interested in this because I'm curious, and I don't know anyone really who agrees with me like wholeheartedly.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
my
But
own theory of that.
yeah, I say that not in, I just say it because we're honest with each other. But
Mm,
for me, it makes sense. And then to divide them to go, well, yeah, no, that's a positive and negative at the very base of it. And then, but we call it masculine and feminine here. It's like, well, hang on, we're talking about the same dynamics, but we want to give it a name here and say it's different from down here when it does the exact same thing. That for me is like, well, that's a weird differentiation.
mm. I don't. Yeah, I think that essence is not really definable in the way that we define gender now.
That comes back to me saying, I think I'm a man, aside with that is peddled by these two energies, and I consider myself to be a biological man.
Yeah,
Yeah, full circle.
yeah. But I still don't think that I just wouldn't call those energies masculine and feminine. I would say that there's positive, negative, inward, outward. I just wouldn't gender them in the way that
I'm not gendering them.
I think that you are though, masculine
No,
and feminine.
I'm saying they're energies, and I'm saying they're different from the gender of man and woman. And I'm saying both men and
But where
women
we're
are
using the
built by
same
the,
names.
are built. No, I actually haven't. As far as I'm aware, I've said that the difference, and this is where there's men and women by gender,
Mm-hmm.
biologically. That's why I said I'm biologically a man. And then I said the foundational building blocks of this energetic reality are masculine and feminine dynamics, protons and electrons. So that's how I understand them. And the energetic, the foundational energies in most of the mystical texts talk about masculine and feminine energy, Shiva and Shakti, and that came from the oneness. That's the oneness inverting within itself to support the two-ness, and that two-ness arises into the forms of many,
Yes, I
in my
can.
understanding.
Yeah, I can see how that comes about. I just disagree.
Good. That's fine. Yes.
All right. Well, let's move on from that because I feel like we're not going to get anywhere with that.
No.
Um, what were we talking about before that? I've totally lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think we were talking about something in the program, maybe. Oh, I think you were talking about the different versions of men, that the reason that you have so many facilitators because there's so many
Mhm.
different versions that you want to give reason to. Yeah, that's right. And then we went into it's the bio individual about what their version of
Mhm.
masculinity is.
Yes.
Is there any I'm curious, would there be any version that you would feel like is not welcome or not okay?
At the Gathering of Men.
Yeah. And or
And
personally,
when you say version,
like the way that it's showing up or the way that someone says this is me authentically who I am.
we've drawn some lines and we've had some boundaries with people in the past, and we've said, hey, actually, we're not comfortable holding you here, putting you up as a facilitator, and you're more than welcome to be a part of the community. But we feel there's some people who've developed your line of thinking further than you, and we're going to bring them in to facilitate into a more balanced, well-rounded view with less dogma and ideology around how it is to be a man.
What do you
And that's
think
right.
is the
Mm.
sorry, go ahead. That's not.
Like, and that's a really hard. It's a very sensitive line for us to walk because there's, um, it's a gathering for all men. If you're
Mm,
born biologically a male, you're welcome at this gathering.
mm-hmm,
And we invite all different leaders, and we try and create leaders. Like there'll be facilitators that I'm like, I don't really like that work, but I
mm,
know it has value, but it just doesn't resonate for me. So
yeah.
we want that in the space for sure. Um, and there have been times where we've just said, actually, you know what, that doesn't feel right. That isn't the culture that we're wanting to support to flourish in Australia.
Mm. Um, has there been people that have participated that have been like, this is who I am, and it's been like as you've unlocked the layers, I'm assuming, I
Mm,
mean, I don't know, I'm assuming as
mm,
they go through the program and go through
mm,
the gathering, there's like layers of themselves that they unlock to
mm,
get more towards their true essence.
mm.
Is there any time that that shows up and you're like, that's like not acceptable manhood or
I mean,
masculinity?
no, of course not. No, there's men from all walks of life, men with different sexual orientations, different sexual interests, different, um, sexual status, whatever they deem. They're all the bros are welcome.
Mm,
Uh, we have there's no violence. So standard men's work agreements, don't harm yourself, other, or the environment.
yeah.
Uh, speak from the eye, be compassionate, trust other people's humanness, give them space, give them a chance. But no, we haven't had any instances where we've had people turn up late and we feel they've turned up at a point where bringing them into the space would be disruptive for what's taken place. So we just ask them to
Mm,
come next year.
mm,
And we trust that that's the education and the experience they need to learn the value of respecting time.
mm, mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, we haven't had any experiences that I'm aware of.
Mm,
We've had some men need to leave early, and we have a checkout protocol to make sure they're safe and that they feel okay. And we also trust, we have the question, are you uncomfortable or are you complete? And if a brother's
mm,
complete, it's like, yeah, bro, we trust you and hopefully we see you again.
yeah. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with this. Like, I'm wondering if if it's ever like someone has a really big, like, because this is big work. In my
Hmm.
opinion, it's big work.
Yeah, it's huge.
And I'm wondering if it's ever gotten to the point where it's like, whoa, this is someone's got a lot going on.
Hmm.
and a lot of stuff has come out, and like maybe it's a bit dicey, maybe it's a bit inappropriate, or like how do
We
you
have,
deal with that?
we have 15, facilitators who know what they're doing. They're
Mm,
solid in the space. They know how to manage a group. They know how to work with a group. They know how to hold a group. And then we also make sure we have space and some therapists in the space for when things spill over. There's a place where they can go and there's someone they can speak to and there's a place for them to come back to themselves to process something that needs a little bit of extra attention or whatever needs to happen. So we kind of cater to that. And it's phenomenal what happens when a group of men come together, the intelligence that comes online
mm,
of men coming together in support of one another. It's incredible. Like it's one of the most beautiful things about the gathering is seeing how the brothers come together and how the hive mind kicks in, the collaboration, the spirit of masculinity, the spirit of men. It's
mm.
beautiful.
Do you have any women that come, or is it strictly zero women?
Zero women.
Where do women come into the conversation then for you
Uh,
guys?
well, I think a lot of men deeply desire a thriving relationship. I think relationship is one of the highest desires of most men. I we want that. And I don't want to generalize, and I'm sure there's men who don't, but the majority of men we work with, they really want an awesome relationship. I think it's one of the great joys of being a man is having an amazing relationship.
Mm,
And so women and partners come into that conversation through the relationship workshops. We've got guys in there who specialize in relationships. We've got
mm,
guys in there who specialize with polarity dynamics, who can bring the understanding of energy circling between man and woman, or man and man, or woman and woman. It's not, we're not going to educate on woman and woman, but
yeah.
I always want to like leave the conversation and my language open enough for people to feel welcome to understand that what we're teaching are fundamental human frameworks and understandings.
Mm.
And so the women come in as a lot of men are bettering themselves because they want to serve their family better. They want to serve their community better. They want to be of service. Most of the time, when a man feels really good with who he is, he wants to be generous and he wants to be in service.
What do you think it is that women need to understand about men the most in, I guess, your experience of facilitating these things and all the men that you've spoken to? What
Hmm.
do you think we're missing?
What do you think women are missing about men?
A lot. I actually think that women are, not all women, a lot of women are committed to misunderstanding men.
Hmm.
Um, I think that we have different ways of being, different ways of speaking, different ways of like moving through the world.
Hmm.
And without understanding that, you don't give grace.
Hmm.
And that's like an individual thing. Like everybody within the collective is going to be individually moving through it differently.
Hmm.
But in a generalization, just men and women, we are different. We speak differently. We move differently. We react differently. And I feel like that gets missed a lot. I think that women will interpret things that men do a lot harsher than what men mean them to be.
Hmm.
And I see that all the time.
Hmm.
I can tell you from the other side as well what I hear from women that they need from men, you know.
Hmm.
So there's not, it's, this is not me bashing on women.
Hmm.
I hear both sides. But
What's the other side?
the side that I hear the most is
Hmm.
the mother child dynamic, especially in marriages,
Hmm.
um, where it's just totally emasculated, deflated man who just feels useless, feels unwanted,
Hmm.
um, feels like he can never do anything right. And the woman feels like she has another child to raise who's just getting in the way.
Hmm.
And there's no love, there's no sex, but there's something there because a lot of them are still together. But
Hmm.
this is like the number one most common dynamic that I see
Hmm.
in reality and online as well.
Hmm.
I see a lot of this just playing out in the general public.
Hmm.
And I find it concerning because I don't find it honoring to either people
Hmm.
or to masculine and feminine strengths as
Hmm.
well. So yeah, it's interesting one. When I speak to women, which is not often to be honest, but every now and then, you know, someone will reach out and ask me my advice.
Hmm.
And I always try to explain that there is a difference,
Hmm.
and to look at it with the most generous eyes, because this is your partner, this is your chosen person.
Mm.
Why would you look at it in a way that they're trying to be unhelpful or hurtful, or,
Hmm.
most people are doing their best, but they're just doing a really crappy job at it.
Mm. Hmm.
What do you think about all of that?
Yeah, I think there can be a difference for sure. And I think just getting interested in the person you're relating with is the most beneficial thing in the world to do. And
Mm,
learning who they are and how they operate, and not always having to revert to why they are the way they are, just enjoying their existence and existing next to them is probably one of the more powerful things to do. Uh, yeah, I'm always hesitant to say this is what women need to do to understand men. I think when people feel really good about themselves, they're much more accommodating for those around them.
mm,
And they're much more willing to support the growth of those around them when they feel really good in who they are. And I would always say to every person, hey, in very tricky situations, a great question is, if you're feeling really good about this right now, how might you look at this situation?
yeah.
And the answer is always very different to how they're looking at it. So the number one priority is, hey, what do you need to feel good right now? And more common than not, I don't need the other person to change for me to feel good,
Mm,
but I'm just under the illusion that I do.
mm, yeah.
And I do think there is some really useful education that the collective could learn. And I think a great way to learn about it is to look at the dominant hormones in development for girls and boys, and how that shapes a brain and how
Mm,
that shapes some of the biology of the human body. And that gives some grace to understanding the difference between uh, a man and a woman. But I don't think it gives grace to go, well, that's just how I am. And so
yeah. A bit
that's
of
the,
a
yeah,
cop out, the
yeah,
spiritual
that's
bypass, but the biological bypass, shall we call
biological.
it?
Yeah, that's why I like, try and pick my words carefully there.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I think that. And I do think there is a tendency to fall into parental dynamics in relationships. And I think that's a really great opportunity for a couple to grow.
mm,
And I do think they need to step out of it. And I do think it's always a two-player game.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I find as well, like, I think women underestimate how much a few kind words and looking at your partner with admiration and encouragement can do for men. Like, I
mhm,
find men don't require a lot most of the time, and I think women think
yeah.
that they're more complicated than they are, and they really just want to be, as all people do, loved and supported. But I think women maybe put our own filter on what we would need and the levels that when we might need it,
Mm.
on,
Yeah.
and we project that onto men, and it's really not that complex, I find.
Yeah. I think men are quite tactile creatures. I think men
Yeah,
actually really, and emotional intimacy goes a long way with men.
yeah.
So, uh, you know, and sometimes the first answer is not, it doesn't like, how are you? I'm good. It's like, actually keep inquiring.
Mm,
Um, Romance him, love him
mm,
up. Some
yeah,
nice words, a hug, some kisses, like the affection goes a long way with men.
yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. And I think men, it's always a two-player game because a lot of men, particularly the people pleasers, the extreme, I'm doing everything with the hope that they will get acknowledged.
Mm,
Well, all right. So there's that story, but also why not acknowledge him? Why not celebrate all that he is doing, even if he's doing it from a place of, what it's like, and supporting. It's like, okay, it's like stop the man and say, hey, thank you so much. And when, no, it's
mm,
okay. It's what I do. It's like, no, no, thank you.
mm,
Really learning to say thank you.
yeah.
I think it goes both ways. The power of learning to say thank you and the power of learning to say you're welcome and to
Mm,
hold it is a really beautiful dynamic that creates a good flow between people.
yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I've told a story a couple of times, but I'll tell you because you don't know it. I was crossing the road and I had two children with me,
Mm,
and this man who I was getting a coffee, and I'd literally parked on the other side of the road. And I live in the country; there's not very many cars or
mm,
anything like that. But I had a coffee, I had a baby on a hip, and I had another kid with me. And I
mm,
said, just listen. We're going to cross the road now. And we do this because not because there was severe danger, but because it's reinforcement, it's road rules. This is
mm,
our habit training. I said, hold on to my arm. So I know that you're there and you stay with me. We're going to cross the road. And this man overheard what I was saying. And he said, excuse me, do you mind if I just walk you across the road?
mm,
And I said, oh my God, I would love that. Thank you so much. Really
mm,
appreciate it. And he just walked us across the road. There was no cars. There was no need to do that, but
mm,
he did that. And he got us to our car and then he left.
mm,
And I thought, what a beautiful moment, because not only am I able to receive this beautiful provision and protection from a man,
mm,
he's able to provide that for me,
mm,
and I didn't reject that.
mm,
Then I had two boys with me. So those two boys got to see me receive that, see that modeled.
mm,
His wife was in the car watching
mm,
her husband provide that for a young girl with infants,
mm,
and his two teenage sons were in the back
mm,
watching their dad do that. And
mm,
and anybody else who saw that around there. So everybody in this scenario wins. Everybody's been gifted with this beautiful moment.
mm,
And all it took was like that, not to be rejected, like an
mm,
offer, not rejection, acknowledgement, and gratitude.
mm,
And it's not much. It was like a fleeting moment in my life. Yet I tell this story all the time because I want to be like good men are out there and they do it all the time. And if you be the change that you want to see, this will keep perpetuating.
mm,
Like, and I think like 3 days later or something like that, or maybe a week later, I was putting groceries in my car and another gentleman approached me and said, do you mind if I take that trolley back for you? And I was like,
mm,
I'd love that. Thank you so much. I really
mm,
appreciate that. Like just these little moments, and you just start to, when you catch them and you acknowledge them and you lean into them and
mm,
you play that out, and not in a like a not genuine way that I'm playing a role, but when I
mm,
allow that experience to fully express through me, it's like attraction energy. I just get more and more of it, and I see more and more of it in the world. I constantly see good, solid men showing up and good, solid women showing up because I look for it, and I see it everywhere that I am, and it's beautiful. And then I
mm,
hear all the time all the opposite from other people going, "What about this?" But but this and that, and I'm like, but it's kind of it's in our power.
mm,
Like you're saying, those little moments. You could be like, hey, I didn't need you to walk me across the road,
mm.
but
Yeah,
I didn't.
that's yeah. For me, you're talking about the principle of generosity.
Yeah.
He was generous, and then you were generous too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you both were able to receive in that moment. He was able to,
Yes.
you were able to receive, and then he was also able to receive from that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was, yeah, gorgeous. Just like such a small thing, and it probably made his day. It made my day. Like I tell other people, and they're like, "Oh, that's so amazing!" Makes their day.
yeah. The
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the piece that's so interesting is because one of the bits I heard you say is good men are out there. And that's the narrative. Oh, there are good men out there. And my stance is men are good.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah.
And until we drop the belief that good men are out there and we can actually say, no, men are good. And they need and the men who are struggling to allow their goodness to come through,
Mm,
they need the support, the environment, the appropriate rite of passage and initiation and the stewarding from eldership
mm,
to help support the growth of and the evolution of their good or the
mm,
blossoming of their good. But I'm staunch on that stance. Like, nah, men are good. And I agree there's men making mistakes and there's a lot of men making mistakes and doing inappropriate things and unskillful decisions.
mm.
And I stand by that men are good.
Yeah. I think two things can be true at once.
Hmm.
And holding the tension of the opposites, I think, is a good practice for most people.
Yeah. It's just that's one thing I often hear is the collective undertone and the narrative around men can be quite sad. And I don't think, I'm not into like everything that I will offer will be essentially neutral. So it applies both ways. And I just tend to enjoy working with men
Mm-hmm.
and I do work with men, but I'm really careful and we're really careful to not box men in and say, this is how you be a man, this is how you be a woman, this is how you do this is how you do that because that's what creates outbursts. When you put
Mm,
someone in a box, they want to get out.
mm,
So, and that's not a long-term solution for cultural change. It's not a long-term solution for having more good men in the world.
mm,
Yeah, the option is how do we nourish what's already there? How do we feed the roots? How do we, deep roots so we can have tall trees?
Mm. Do you think that there's any place for like women to guide men?
Of course, we can learn from everyone. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, we can learn from everyone. There's no one that we can't learn from. There's some things that I think men, I think, and my experience is that the initiation work we've been doing, I would say is more geared towards a male dominant environment because of the physicality.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we do is like insanely physical. And I'm not saying that I don't think a woman could hold that and that women could handle that physicality. I'm just saying I think my biology was built for it.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. But I 100% that men can learn about masculinity and being a man from a woman. My
Mm.
partner teaches me all the time.
Yeah.
I learn a lot in the reflection in the face of a woman.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think vice versa. I think it's probably one of the fast tracks to learning.
Yeah.
Um, Don and Martha Rosenthal were my most recent kind of really big influences and teachers, and Don was a true elder. And that was one of the most amazing experiences for me was sitting down with Don for the first time, and it was like drinking a cup of water I'd been dying of thirst for 34 years, 33 years.
Mm.
I had no idea. And sitting with a real elder, a male elder, was one of the most life-changing events for me. And him and Martha had been working in relationship they'd been in a relationship, I think, for 57 years. Deeply loving, deeply connected, beautiful couple. And Martha was supporting my partner and I, and she said, if you're game, if you can be brave enough, your partner has a very, very unique view on you where they can see all the things you can't. And if you're willing, if you have the courage to trust them and listen, you can rapidly evolve.
Mm.
And another part of that is they laugh. Like I would share with them what the people were talking about in our personal development worlds around relationship, and they would just laugh. They just thought it was so silly. The
What in
masculine,
particular?
the masculine feminine dynamics, men should be this, women should be that. They're just like, wow, they've never been in a long-term relationship.
Mm.
Yeah. They just said it's a very immature version of relating.
Mm. Yeah.
And so there's like there's so much to be learned from both men and women. And I think and I honor and I really cherish men coming together because there's what we call the brotherhood wound.
Mm.
Men are afraid of other men and they don't even realize. Like there's such an unconscious belief that men aren't safe, particularly for other men.
Mm.
And so the men coming together is such a unifying force for men. It's such a like revitalization of one of our ancestral memories. Our bone memories of what it means to be a man is to stand in circle with other men. And so I think that is incredibly powerful. I know
Mm.
it's incredibly powerful because it's probably been the greatest catalyst of my life for the last 2 years. We designed our business in brotherhood. So one of the things we noticed in the men's workspace was everyone was doing men's work and it's about brotherhood, but no one was running their business in the shape of brotherhood. So we designed our business in brotherhood. So we
Mm.
have circles within circles within circles. And it's been the most transformative and positively catalyzing events of my life.
Mm. That's a great pickup, actually. Yeah, it's very true. Do you think though that you could learn things off someone even if they haven't been through the thing that they're talking about?
Sometimes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm less dogmatic on the you must have experienced this to have wisdom and knowledge on it because I feel like that does cut out a whole bunch of people that may have some gifts to bring forward.
Mm.
And I particularly don't like that stance when it comes to men's and women's work. I think that women can teach men a lot, and I think that men can teach women a lot, and I think it's needed as well because we
Hmm.
teach in different ways,
Totally.
and we ultimately relate with each other. So I
Mm.
think that that's really valid to bring into the space. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes for some people it's easier looking in from the outside. Like people who are in relationships might see things that single people don't see and might have gifts there to give them, even though they might not have been single for, 50 years or 57 years or whatever. And then
Mm,
like people who are single might look at marriages and be like, I can see some things in there that I might want or not want, or see that is healthy or unhealthy.
mm,
There's often, I find, bits for space for everything.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think there's one. My general consensus, anytime there's dogma, is there's dogma doesn't do any good, no matter where it is. Any rigidity leads to fragility,
Mm,
and dogma is rigidity, and it's hiding. And most of the time, I'll be cheeky here, but most of the time I find that people who really push heavily on men can only be with men, and you can't learn about that. They're actually afraid of women.
yeah.
They're deeply afraid of women. They're afraid of life. Like
Mm,
women are life; they bear life.
yeah.
And one piece I'm assuming we're getting close to the end, but one piece I want to drop in, I'm happy to keep talking, is
Yeah.
that what's left out, and just to dismantle some of this, men shouldn't be this or men shouldn't be that when it comes to, more feminine or female oriented traits.
Mm,
Initiation was to bring men to the same level as women. So women bleed. Women are naturally initiated by life, and they're initiated every month. They have a cycle of initiation.
mm,
And one of the old metaphors of initiation was that men would bleed onto the earth so that they could rise and be on the same level as women, so that they could be equals. And so I come back to the feminine precedes the masculine when we bring it into the gendered form. Women precede men in that way. They bleed, and then men are bled, and they come onto the same level.
mm-hmm,
So there's a beautiful, in my mind, and a really powerful piece is the wound. So when they would do scarification on men, the wound was actually a metaphorical womb, and the new man was born through that womb when the initiation was done appropriately and skillfully. And when it wasn't, you had a whole heap of boy running around with wounds, bleeding on people who didn't cut them. And so a lot of it is actually mimicked and mirrored off women, off the
mm,
wisdom of the female form.
mm,
And so when we say, "Oh, you can't learn from women," it's like actually a lot of the education of men was built off the back of women.
mm. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of teachers that talk about that men have to actively seek out their initiation, and that's the biggest difference. Because, but I did a podcast a few days ago with a woman who we were talking about this exact thing, but we were talking about the sisterhood version of it, basically.
Hmm.
And we were saying, you can, even with women, even though we are initiated through menarche and pregnancy and menopause, we are
Hmm.
forced, quote
Hmm.
unquote, into initiation in some ways. You can still override it, you can still reject it. And there are women who don't lean into it and who don't take it on and
Hmm.
who are still immature and uninitiated, even though they have these things
Totally.
mentally, but also physically, with like the pill and the
Hmm.
IUDs and things like that, that stop the natural process for those things
Hmm.
happening.
Yeah.
So I think that also can, I would imagine that could also happen with men, even the men who do choose to seek out initiation. When they get to that point, there's still another step to full integration, I guess, rather than.
Yeah, I think we have a really brilliant and good model for explaining this for men so they understand it. So for
Mhm.
me, life is always inviting us into an initiation. An
Yes.
initiation happens at different levels and at different scales, and it happens within itself. So there's always an initiation to be had, and some of them we can do on our own, and some of them are just the trials of life.
Mm,
And just even the gift of aging, there's an initiation.
mm,
And then there's others that require community, and there's others that require elders, and there's others that require ceremony, and there's others that require many things. So I think like it's incredible. It's like almost another principle. You pop it open and there's a whole world to explore.
mm.
And of course you can resist it, but uh, so the first stage of the initiation is the call, and that comes in the feather, the brick, or the bus. And the feather's the tickle of intuition, the
Yeah.
brick, and then the bus. If you don't listen, life will force you to listen.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we get some bros who come into sacred rage, and their wife and kids have left them.
Mm,
Everything they've worked so hard for has just walked out the door.
yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It's you can resist totally.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm of the ilk that life is going to grow us no matter what.
Yeah. I think that it will, but I think that it's how much might be determined on our perception and whether we choose to lean into it or not.
Hmm. Yeah.
But in the end, I mean, everything's perfect, I think. So
I don't.
you don't think that everything's perfect because it is the way that it is?
No, that's a really convenient position to take from the privileged world. Yeah, I'm not willing. I'm not happy to. I'm unwilling to stand by that statement when we have a situation like Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I disagree.
Okay, that's we'll talk offline about that. I have some questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
uh, that's a convenient position that we're in the privilege of taking and sitting in, and it's just simply not true. I think we're being invited by life to see that there's a grand mistake and that there is a problem, and we can address the problem if we don't hide behind the "it is what it is, everything's perfect" rhetoric.
I agree with the it is what it is. Yeah, I definitely don't think that that's a helpful rhetoric at all.
Yeah, and well, I'd say that's the same as it's all perfect.
I would say that the all perfect is a reflection rather than a projection. So looking back, I would say that is what it is like I'm looking at this situation and I'm not going to act on it because I've already decided.
Hmm.
Whereas everything is perfect for me is when I am reflecting on what has come to pass
Mm.
and realizing that the place that I have arrived at and that everyone has arrived at are based on the choices that we make,
Hmm.
and that we only make the choices that we can make at the time. So it can't be any other way than it has been. So we can make a different choice in the future, but we can't undo what we've already done.
Hmm.
We were only at that level of making that choice because that was the choice that we made.
Yeah, I just wouldn't call the choices we've made perfect.
No, I guess that's, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I like this. I like this. I like this a lot. Uh, um, this is such a different podcast than all the other podcasts that I've done, and it's so
Really?
funny because we know each other so well. The
Mm.
way that we speak to each other, I can imagine for people listening will be a bit like I'm imagining, but I don't know. It
Yeah,
might be a bit confronting. Like maybe never heard two people talk like this on a podcast because everyone's very polite. Everyone's very much like I agree. We're all
yeah.
confirmation bias and everything like that.
That's not my strong suit. It's
No,
not yours either.
no, and it never has been. And
Yeah.
I was talking about you today to a friend of mine, and I was saying, something I really love about Ryan is he's not afraid of me, and he always tells me what he really thinks. And he's given me so many gifts over the years in reflections on who I am that I found really helpful that nobody else was kind
Mm.
of like brave enough to tell me. But once I kind of was like, hey, do I do this thing? And people are like, yeah. I'm like, why didn't anyone tell me? I didn't know that. Ryan just was like, yo, that's really annoying. Stop doing that.
I'm hoping I can learn to do it with more compassion and care.
No, you have done things with compassion and care. One of the things that I remember in particular was you and our dear friend Georgie in the kitchen at our old
Mm.
place that we lived at. And I was in conflict with somebody, and both of you so graciously and like very calmly kind of redirected my understanding of what was happening
Mm.
by saying, I don't think that you're aware of the impact that your words have in the way that you present in the world, in the way that you speak, in the authority that you carry, in your
Mm.
assuredness in yourself, and all this kind of stuff. Therefore, you can't just be flippant about things and generalize about things in the way that other people might, because it has a much stronger impact.
Mm.
And it really took me aback, and I still think about it today. And it made me, because I mean, you've known me in like the worst versions of myself, in the very immature versions of
Likewise.
myself. Yeah, where I was quite aggressive, quite opinionated. And in my old age now, I find like the people who meet me now might not know that about me,
Hmm.
because it's because of that pivotal moment where you were able to
Mm.
bring that to my attention in such a beautiful way where it was not I was able to receive it and I was open to it because I wasn't confronted
Mm,
by it. um those type of things I think are incredibly, and those type of people I think are incredibly valuable in your lives to cultivate those relationships. And to like, there's something I really appreciate about you is that um you have that ability to see through people in ways that I don't think I've ever come across before in anybody else. Like your ability to see through everything. I remember driving with you one day and you saw someone walking and you were able to just like, by the gait of their walk, you were like, oh, they've got something going on here with I was like, wow. Like you just were, yeah, you have a genuine ability to see it, but you also have, because there's a few people that have that, but you also have the ability to then be able to deliver it in ways that people can receive and integrate. And I think that that's where I find your strength to be. And so I can understand that this work would be incredibly nourishing and
mm.
for people receiving it from you, and also like incredibly purposeful for you. Like this is just such a natural gift that I see you have where you're able to see through, take the knowledge, and then disseminate it in ways that are just lovely.
Thanks, Loz.
You're welcome. But yeah, yeah, it's, I think people will be shocked listening to.
Cool. Yeah. Just so if anyone is shocked, like it's with love. One of Carmita, I've been really she was here recently, so there's lots fresh, but some pieces that really stuck for me was just saying, it's convenient to take a little bit of information and take a position, or it's convenient to sit on the fence, or it's convenient to not educate ourselves, not
Mm,
really educate ourselves, and I think that's something that I try to put effort into the understanding of what I'm talking about, so it's not polarizing, but it's actually piercing. Yeah,
not polarizing, but piercing. I like that.
yeah, I think there's a potency to the truth, and that's what I'm interested in. And so that's the work is, and that's what, reminding men of who they really are, and then supporting that flame to flourish, tending that fire and doing that as a collective.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else do we need to know about what's going on?
What we
What have
need,
I
oh, what
missed?
we need, when's this going to air?
Well, look, Ryan.
Hey, come on, ASAP, please. We've got the Gathering of Men, the 3rd to the 6th of October, 4 days on the land. We have an incredible, and one of the great downfalls of men's work to date has been the terrible retreat food. So we have overcome that. We hire a professional chef and we have a team of 16 in the kitchen, and they deliver insane, epic, meat-based, slow cooked,
Nice.
open fire grilled deliciousness at this event.
Just come for the food, if nothing else.
Well, that's why I go.
Sounds great. Save me a doggy bag. That sounds
It's
amazing.
yeah, Yusuk, our Japanese chef, is ridiculous.
Nice.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would come back just for him. I'm going to be honest, guys. Look, here's the real scoop. It's about the food.
15
Yeah,
facilitators.
that's
Who?
how we
What's
get all the
this? The chef?
facilitators too. Yeah, the facilitators only come for the chef. They have to put up with Jake and me pestering them, but really they say yes for the food. But in all honesty, there's no way you can. It's $999, and there's no way you can get access to that many experts, including international speakers like Dr. Robert Glover, and 4 days with that epic, organic, primo food in nature with a flowing stream with a bunch of bros. There's just no way you can actually get access to that much value outside of the gathering of men. It's not possible. And if you're on the fence, bros, jump in. It's the, it's the gift that will keep giving. And everything is an invitation at the event. There's no expectation on you. And we just want you to be who you are. And we want to support that.
So, like, if someone's going, but what do I do there? What happened? Like, what do I do when I go there? Do I have to do something? What's the answer?
The answer is I will give you a booklet when you arrive. It will tell you what to bring every morning. There will be a schedule. There's all in experiences, there's workshops, there's story time at night time with a little hot cacao and maybe even some popcorn. There's the works, there's everything. Opening ceremony, closing ceremony, various workshops. A big part of this is come and if you feel the call, trust the call and just enjoy the mystery of it unfolding before you. You just need to bring camping gear if you don't have.
Awesome. And where do people sign up, Ryan? Where can they find you? What's the handles? What's the website? Tell me all the things.
The best place to find us is at the Embodied Man Institute on Instagram. And if you click on our little link tree, you'll see the gathering of men. Click that, come along, let's party, let's boogie.
And if people want to work with you, do you do one-on-ones? What do you do?
Uh, I'm not available for one-off one-on-ones. I will soon be available for, I work with men in a 6 month container. So 6 months one-on-one with me. Again, that work is individual and tailored, deep work. And on the other side of that, if that's not for you, then our academy is for you. We have an epic thing called the Embodied Man Academy. That's a year-long container. So we teach men the foundational frameworks that I've mentioned multiple times. We really go into the depth of that, and then we give them
Mhm.
a basically 44 tailored step program, taking them through what they need to know about themselves, understanding a deeper relationship with self, how to cultivate it with others, and how to cultivate it with life, and then step into a career that they feel of service. And Jacob and I are the lead facilitators and coaches in that space.
Nice. And where do they find you?
They find me at, I think it's Ryan Barraclough __ on Instagram.
Nice. And spell your surname for us for those who don't know. I'll pop all the links in the show
Yeah,
notes,
B
by the
A
way.
R R A C L O U G H.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much for giving me your time. I know it's late for you and you're normally asleep by now, but I really appreciate you coming on. I've wanted to have a chat with you just personally. I just kind of
Yeah.
wanted to have a chat. The podcast is the
And into
fast.
good old school, just for everyone, like that's pretty much where Lauren and I just debate things. That's our existence together for like 15 or more years
Yeah.
now. I'm just like, no, that's not right.
I,
And
I love a good debate.
yeah, yeah.
But you know what? Like Ryan and I, like we're so similar and yet so different. And we just love each other even though we disagree all the time. And I just think that's a really great example for people. I think we're awesome.
Yeah, same. I'm like, you believe what you want to believe. It's just it's wrong. All right.
That's what I think too.
And in my head, I was literally like, do I do it? I was calculating. I was like, we're on the podcast. Do I do it? I'm like, fuck it. I'm in. Let's go. Um, but yes, thank you, Loza. It's always a joy. Happy to be on whenever you would like now that I have internet. So
Yay. Yay
yeah,
for the internet. Yeah, maybe we'll come back on and we'll just have a chat about some other topics that isn't
find something else controversial I can debate with you. That's always fun.
well, we used to do lives together, our Tuesday
It
taboos. Do
did.
you remember that?
Yeah, Taboo Tuesday.
Taboo Tuesdays.
We have a whole
Yeah.
history of online epicness,
We
everyone.
do. And look, they were really racy topics. And I think I still have the list somewhere. Maybe we
Wow.
can just get on and start that back up again.
All right, fuck.
Just
My
get
business,
cancelled together.
my business partner would be like, ah, dude.
This woman is problematic.
Don't you think that don't you think I'm much more refined in my delivery these days? I'm way less charged.
100% beautiful
Yes,
work. Same, right?
you are. Yeah.
That's why I'm a woman refined. The refining process never ends, by the way, for
Hmm.
those wondering about the name. It's a constant refinement
Yeah.
process.
Like a fine wine.
Yeah. I love
One,
it.
t- I'll finish with this. I was sitting with Don and I was harping on about the virtue of honesty and radical honesty. And he goes, "Oh yeah, virtue is a really great honesty is a really great virtue, but so is kindness."
It's true. It's
I
true.
was like, "Got
It's
it."
know when to shut the fuck up.
Yep. Thank you
Well, thank
so
you for
much,
your
Loz.
kindness tonight, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Well,
Likewise.
I'll put everything in the show notes, and if you want to find you there, or they can shoot you a DM, and you'll sort them out. I'm sure. And hopefully I'll
Take your
get this
time.
out before the gathering.
Thanks, Laza.
I'll talk to you soon.
Oi.